Okay, so much winning around Tesla corporate offices. Ooh, ouch. Tesla reports 20% drop in auto revenue as first quarter results miss Wall Street estimates. And those estimates were not good either, and they missed the estimates. Tesla reported a miss on the top and bottom lines in its first quarter earnings report on Tuesday, as automotive revenue plunged 20% from a year earlier. Here are the key numbers compared with LSEG expectations. Earnings per share, 27 cents adjusted versus 39 cents estimated. Revenue, 19.34 billion versus 21.11. Total revenue slid 9% from 21.3 billion a year earlier. Automotive revenue dropped 20% to 14 billion from 17.4 last year. Operating income in the quarter slid 66% to 400 million from 1.17 billion a year earlier, resulting in a 2.1% operating margin. The company cited an increase in expenses tied to artificial intelligence projects as one factor in the decline. Now, hang on, you're going to love this. You're going to love this. So, you know how Elon's been running around chasing phantom 250-year-olds who are getting Social Security and drumming up a lot of hysteria about all the waste, fraud, and abuse in the government. He said recently when he lowered his target for DOGE to 150 billion. Well, you look in any direction in the government and you'll find waste, fraud, and abuse. He should look in a mirror. The company would have lost money on automotive sales without environmental regulatory credits during the quarter. Revenue from the credits, which Tesla receives for selling fully electric vehicles, increased to 595 million from 432 million in the same quarter last year. Okay, so 400 million, 595 million. So they would have taken $195 million loss if it were not for the government.
Right.
For the government, they would have taken a loss. They would have taken, well, they would have gone bankrupt a long time ago, as we will see. This is the guy who wants your grandma to have to drive to some rural place to prove that she exists when she applies for benefits. Net income plummeted 71% to 409 million or 12 cents a share from 1.39 billion or 41 cents a year ago. Tesla refrained from promising growth this year and said it will revisit our 2025 guidance in our quarter 2 update. Tesla shares are down 41% so far in 2025 and suffered their worst quarterly drop since 2022 in the period that ended in March. The stock was initially little changed and extended trading on Tuesday, but then popped almost 5% after President Trump said he has no plans to fire Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. Now, that was part of it. Part of it was also, remember, me and Keaton, we talked that day. We were actually on the air, and I saw the Tesla was up, and I said he promised some shit because with
Right.
these kinds of numbers, and that's exactly, oh, it's gonna be beautiful, like when we were first married. There's gonna be robots, servants by 2029. There's gonna be the robo taxi. We're gonna do it so much cheaper than Waymo, that has an enormous head start in the market. So a lot of these analysts who have a lot of conflicts of interest to prop this stock up gave it an upgrade. Okay, so disability advocates sue Social Security Administration and DOGE to stop service cuts. This is the same guy who would have lost money in his automotive section if he did not get money from the government. But it doesn't stop there. Elon Musk's business empire is built on 38 billion in government funding. This article came out about a month ago, just a little bit of that. Because we have this idea he's the real Tony Stark.
Right.
He's the self-made man who wrested wealth from the bare bones of the capitalist jungle. But not so much. Not so much. NASA and the Defense Department nurtured SpaceX in its earliest years with contracts that helped it build infrastructure, while the agency tolerated the company's failure to meet required milestones on time, according to congressional investigators. The $465 million Energy Department loan, which arrived in 2010, helped fuel Tesla's meteoric rise. With that money, the company engineered and assembled its luxury electric sedan, the Model S, and bought a factory in Fremont, California, according to the agency. Tesla went public 6 months later. Quote, Tesla would not have survived without the loan, said a former high-level Tesla employee familiar with the company's finances who spoke on the condition of anonymity for fear of retribution. It was a critical loan at a critical time. Okay, so remember, this is the same guy running around talking about how everybody in the federal government is a freeloader who wants to cut all of these programs that help regular average people who maybe need an opportunity, need a leg up, need some help from the government, need just basic social security. He's lying about there being a mass amount of fraud in social security. Certainly he has enough, although he does not have a background in engineering. He doesn't really have the skill set that people seem to think he does. He certainly understood that Social Security was using COBOL, and that's why you had all these people in the system. So why did he come out and tell you otherwise? He certainly knew better.
Right.
Because he was looking for a way to justify making it. He knew he can't cut Social Security. That would just be too unpopular. Make it very hard to get by putting in anti-fraud measures that are really not necessary, by claiming an emergency that does not exist. This same motherfucker got 38 billion at least. At least that's public contracts and grants with the government. That doesn't even account for classified money that he might have gotten for classified programs. This is the guy who's telling you the grandma needs to take an Uber that she can't afford to prove that she exists. So here is the earnings report, which is really, I'm going to play his whole opening self-pitying monologue because it's really quite amazing, quite amazing. There is no reason that anyone would be protesting Tesla other than that he cut off their fraudulent funds.
As people know, there's been some blowback for the time that I've been spending in government with the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. I think the work that we're doing there is actually very important for trying to rein in the insane deficit that is leading our country, the United States, to destruction. And the DOGE team has made a lot of progress in addressing waste and fraud. The natural blowback from that is those who were receiving the wasteful dollars and the fraudulent dollars will try to attack me and the DOGE team and anything associated with me. So but then I'm really left with two choices. Should we just let the waste and fraud continue? And it was continuing at it to grow at a really unsustainable pace that was bankrupting the country, or to fight the waste and fraud and try to get the country back on the right track. And I believe the right thing to do is to just fight the waste and fraud and get the country back on the right track, and working together with the President Trump and his administration. Because if the ship of America goes down, we all go down with it, including Tesla and everyone else. So I think this is this critical work. Now, the protests that you'll see out there, they're very organized, they're paid for. They're obviously not going to admit that the reason that they're protesting is because they're receiving fraudulent money, or that they're the recipients of wasteful largesse. But
okay, well, we'll come back. But I just have to point out there are protests against him worldwide. Worldwide. They're getting money from the U.S. government. People in Australia, people in Europe, people all over the world. They're all getting government largesse. That's why they're protesting. It's just insane. that he would go and say this in an earnings call. And you know what's more insane? These greedy analysts who didn't call him out on it, who said, oh, yeah, no, robots. Sounds good. Sounds good. We're turning a corner. He's leaving Washington. And he's not even leaving, although he physically left right after this earnings call. He says he's still going to work there 1 or 2 days a week. All right, so let's continue.
They're going to come up with some other reason. But that is the real reason for the protests. The actual reason is that those receiving the waste and fraud wish to continue receiving it. That is the real thing that's going on here, obviously. So now that said, I do think there's, the large slug of work necessary to get the DOGE team in place and working in the government to get the financial house in order is mostly done. And I think starting probably in next month, May, my time allocation to DOGE will drop significantly. I'll have to continue doing it for, I think, probably the remainder of the president's term, just to make sure that the waste and fraud that we stop does not come roaring back, which we'll do if it has the chance. So I think I'll continue to spend, a day or two per week on government matters for as long as the president would like me to do so, and as long as it is useful. But starting next month, I'll be allocating far more of my time to Tesla, and now that the major work of establishing the Department of Government Efficiency is done. So at Tesla, we've gone through.
Okay. All right. So what are the fruits of this tremendous and important labor that not only has been, set the national budget back on course, but he still has to work 1 or 2 days a week in the government to make sure they don't reverse course. What has been the product of all this? Elon Musk drastically drops DOGE savings goal from 2 trillion to 150 billion for the year. 150 billion. Put that in perspective. The richest 1% at the very top of the income cheat the US government of roughly 175 billion per year in revenue, according to the findings by a team of economists from academia and the IRS. DOGE projected savings of 150 billion is less than what should be paid by the tax cheats. So, we could have just not gone through any of this, and Elon and his criminal friends could have just paid their fucking taxes, and you wouldn't need DOGE at all. Wouldn't need it at all. Hey, he's doing such a great job. Why did nearly $1 billion in DOGE savings disappear overnight? In a late night update to its webpage, DOGE removed hundreds of previously claimed cuts and altered scores of others to boost the item's claimed savings values. So originally, DOGE was going to be radically transparent. And then when reporters started to examine their claims and find they were total, utter bullshit, they stopped being so transparent. First, they stopped listing the grant numbers and the invoice numbers. And then some reporters figured out it was still buried in the digital code. And then they started scrubbing that too. So now they just say stuff. Like right before he had that cabinet meeting with Trump, the savings on the website went from 140 to 150 billion. No explanation. Just needed to pad the numbers before the meeting. That's what he needs to still be involved in government to preserve. Now, he did say a little bit about tariffs, and he's kind of repeatedly, obviously being an interested party, spoken against the boss's policy here.
Are still, tough on a company when margins are still low. I just want to emphasize that the tariff decision is entirely up to the President of the United States. I will weigh in with my advice with the president, which he will listen to my advice, but then it's up to him, of course, to make his decision. I've been on the record many times as saying that I believe lower tariffs are generally a good idea for prosperity. But this decision is fundamentally up to the elected representative of the people, being the president of the United States. So, I'll continue to advocate for lower tariffs rather than higher tariffs, but that's all I can do.
Okay, so as I said, a lot of this call was taken up with very typical Elon Musk, P.T. Barnum-esque promises, given Elon Musk's history of promising things like full self-driving cars by the end of 2019 that can go by themselves from California to New York. It's pretty amazing to see so many analysts take it seriously, particularly given that it's pretty obvious, this is kind of a theme of the show today, the failure of experts to see the obvious. It's very obvious that the Tesla brand has been irrevocably destroyed. Now, I can't speak to money that he's going to pick out of the government's pocket, the government that he doesn't want anybody else getting any money from, but he's very comfortable taking for himself. I can't speak to what he might be able to do to save himself with Defense Department contracts and that kind of thing. But as a consumer brand, Tesla is done. Tesla is over. You will never be able to recover the target consumer for an EV, which are libs. Conservatives still don't want it. they still do. Conservatives will sign up to X. Doesn't cost them anything. Yeah, they like the Elon brand. I mean, some conservatives like the Elon brand, not all, not to paint with a broad brush. But they're not in the market for an EV. And the libs are never coming back. And internationally, it seems like it's even worse with his interference in foreign politics and just being associated with this administration. Why, you think in China they're going to be buying Teslas now? BYD is, by all accounts, a much better car. That's another factor. Tesla has fallen behind its competitors, and the brand has become toxic. The idea of analysts like Tesla bull Dan Ives saying this is insane. Musk has handled the conference call very well. Recommit to Tesla and major step back on DOGE. This was well communicated by Musk on this call, in our view. Needed to hear this tone and direction as discussed on CNBC. That is about as good as Scott Bessent's call on how the China tariffs would play out. How anyone who is a professional economic analyst, financial analyst, could think that Tesla could recover from the complete destruction of its relationship to its core customer base, I do not know. But again, this is another one of those things, when you take a look at this in a year, 2 years, it's going to be very obvious that this company was never in a position to recover its customer base.
Well, and Doge is going to be done soon too. That was one of my predictions, which I already take credit for.
He fled Washington right after this call.
Yeah, well, remember when Vivek Ramaswamy was going to be part of Doge, and he quit before it got started. And apparently, Doge was supposed to end in 2026, but he just said in the call there, yeah, after this month, I'm going to be spending most of my time back at Tesla again. It did not stand up to public pressure. I mean, that was what a lot of the anger at a lot of the Republican town halls was about Doge. Right. Now they're getting it about the deportations, but right. At first it was about Doge. Right. And the Wisconsin result was really the nail in the coffin. I mean, that was a repudiation of Elon in not just a swing state, but a real sort of bellwether state. And so I think, Wisconsin has picked the president in every election going back to, I believe, 2004. I think I'm right about that. I think they've, so that's an important test right there that he failed miserably. And so, yeah, I mean, that's not a surprise. And it's not a surprise to me. Big picture, I had a feeling this experiment was not long for the world. The rapaciousness of it was just so out in the open that once the public got a chance to chime in on it, they made it pretty clear that they weren't down with it. And so, yeah, I mean, I think his brand is tanked. I think his car brand is obviously tanked, and I think Doge, when all is said and done, will be, looked upon as really the one of the many design flaws of Trump term 2 was thinking that they could get people on board for that for so long. Don't forget, at first the Doge numbers were good. Oh yeah, we love it. We love that USAID is the fund, and then they got a sense of what they were really up to, and first chance people had to make their voices heard about it, they rejected it pretty handily.
Yeah, and if you listen to his opening monologue there, he sounds like he's in a panic because Tesla is the economic engine for everything else. Right. Tesla collapses. You know what he's got? Debt. He's got a lot of debt. He's got debt on his businesses. He can't borrow against that stock anymore to enjoy his billionaire lifestyle tax-free the way all of these criminals do.
Exactly.
Please clap.